Mike Jones, who's a police officer with the Evanston Police Department. And Mike has a new business, pretty new business, called BREW Coffee.
Everything starts with an idea, right? So I started with this idea about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was working midnight shift patrol. And the only thing that was open were some of the big box coffee shops. Not to be named, but and what I found out was I had to doctor up the coffee with a bunch of cream and sugar just so it could be palatable. So maybe 10 years ago, I thought to myself, I want to open up my own coffee shop and supply some great coffee to people so people can drink the coffee just straight black with no cream and sugar. 2 years from today's date, prior to the pandemic, I was getting close to retirement age or eligible to be retired. 20 years of service, you're eligible to be retired. I've been doing the job about 18 years total. So I'm about 2 years away from retirement. I wanted to think of the next great thing for me to do, something that I was passionate about moving forward in my retirement. Because I know officers, they operate on such a high level throughout their career, and then once they retire, they feel like they're no longer needed. So a lot of officers suffer from depression. They don't fit in with their family anymore. Their friend groups are no longer around or doing something else, relocated to another state, and I didn't want to fall into that category. So I wanted to transition into something that I wanted to do, that I was passionate about when I retired and hang up in law enforcement.
And then you will go full-time coffee.
That's what I'm hoping to do.
And when you went to the big box, not to be named coffee shops, did you already have sort of a palate for coffee? Did you know anything about coffee other than that, you needed to get through your midnight shift?
For the most part, it was just to get through the shift. But what I discovered is there was a coffee shop here in Evanston, right on Main Street, called Coffee Lab. I went there and
On Noise.
on Noise Street, they were doing pour-overs. That's the brewing method of coffee, where you pour over the hot water over the exposed coffee ground. And that's one of those methods is where you can get the most flavor out of the coffee. Once I started drinking their coffee, it was something I've never tasted before. At that point, it's kind of like wine. You get some notes on the front end, you get fruity notes on the back end, you get some chocolate notes in the middle. And that's kind of when I discovered and my eyes opened. It was like, wow, this is the type of coffee that I like drinking consistently. But there just wasn't enough of those shops in Chicagoland area, period. Not just in Evanston, but just in the Chicagoland area, period.
What were the steps that led you to having actual bags of coffee for sale?
So I was going to open up that small little coffee shop was my idea when I retired, just to remain social. Open up a small little coffee window. People can walk up. I can set up some tents on tables on the outside during the summer, just to socialize. Start doing my research, talking to some people in the coffee field. A lot of people are going away from that standard coffee shop because of the overhead. Rent is going up. Labor shortage. It's hard getting baristas and students to fulfill those coffee roles. So a lot of coffee guys we're going to the roasting and wholesaling. So 2 years ago, I really started doing my research. I dug into this, started doing my research on the roasting side of the coffee business. What does it take to actually buy a roaster, build a roaster, a roasting program, develop recipes. So what I did was I started with a small little in-kitchen electric roaster. It was like $200. And I started sourcing beans online, just regular green beans online, and creating these recipes. I did that for about a year, Nina. It took me about a year to get these recipes perfected.
That's amazing.
And then I was able to purchase an industrial roaster that I placed in my garage to roast 2 pounds at a time, thanks to Tasha, Boosting Black Business. And then I tried to transfer my recipes from my kitchen top to the garage. It didn't transfer.
Because it was a bigger roaster?
Bigger roaster, more heat, more airflow. You can control the drum speed. There were just way more gadgets on this industrial roaster, so where you can expel some of the unique flavors out of each bean based off your roasting profile. Coffee tastes like crap when I first started. I mean, it tastes grassy. It was underdeveloped. Some of it was drinkable, some of it was not. I went through a lot of trial and error trying to perfect my recipes.
And so now you have a line of coffee.
Taking a step back, I had this roaster in my garage to roast 2 pounds at a time. It wasn't cheap. It was $11,000 for this roaster. But only roast 2 pounds at a time. I started selling online. I started selling to my coffee through family and friends. Once I developed the branding, the packaging, the mission statement, what we were all about, that little 2 pound roaster wasn't enough. So I had to figure out a way to scale up my operation so I can fulfill a full online business. And we're getting orders from around the U.S. And we're getting inquiries from around the world. We've got an increase from Turkey, Ireland, UK about our coffee.
And who's we and our? Is you and who else?
So it's just me, and my wife helped me out on the back end and stuff, website development, and my kids helped me out with the graphic design stuff. So it's kind of a small family business to where, for example, the name Badge Brew, that was the name that my kids came up with. Yeah, so it's like, you know, the name Badge Brew, obviously it's a spin on police, but our slogan is, what's your badge of honor? So a badge of honor, our coffee is meant to be drinking by people that take whatever they do. You can be a stay-at-home mom, you can be a nurse, you can be a school bus driver. As long as you do it with pride and you're proud of what you do, and that's your badge of honor, that's what you can stand on, this coffee's for you. And one of the things that everything you do in your life, Nina, is a service to somebody else. If you really just think about it, you can be anything, any profession. You have customers, you're servicing someone else. I'm servicing people with my coffee, and I'm proud of that. I'm servicing people as a police officer, another thing I'm proud of. You don't have to be in public service to be a service to someone. So our coffee is all about community. What we donated our part of our proceeds to is to build to organizations that help build the community in the police, organizations that help bring that together. So like, for example, like Officer and Academy program, we can donate to that program from a part of our proceeds. And those are police officers that help bridge the gap between community, right? Another part of our proceeds is to help to support families of officers killed or injured in the line of duty, to support their families, because the general public look at us just as police officers. But when you take a step back, we're husbands, we're wives, we're kids, we're grandkids. We have family that need to be supported. I've lost friends in the line of duty, so I know the void that needs to be filled.
Tell me a little bit about the flavors of the coffee.
So what we do at Badge Brew, the hardest part of this business was sourcing quality beans. One of the benefits of COVID-19, I was able to get on Zoom calls with the farmers that's in these different countries, developing that relationship. This is my light roast. It's called the Recruit. It's a honey process coffee from Terrazoo region, Costa Rica, right? There was a high demand when this new coffee was coming out from Terrazoo. A lot of people wanted it. I was one of the small guys, so some of the coffees were being purchased very fast, even while there was still a crop. I developed a relationship with this farmer so I can get that coffee here to get my little small piece of the cut. So this is a light roast coffee, honey processed, Terrazoo, Costa Rica. So with this coffee, you'll get some grapefruit notes, you'll get some wine notes, you'll get some floral notes. Very light, very refreshing. The lighter the roast of the coffee, the more caffeine is in it. My dark roast has least caffeine, even though it has more of a bold taste and bold flavor. This one is my medium. This is from Way, Guatemala. It's medium body. If you like cream and sugar, you're more than welcome to have it. It still holds the body with the cream. I wanted something that was going to hold the body, even though people need that cream in it. It got flavor notes of apricot, honey, and toffee. On the front end of this coffee, this is one of my favorites. There's some fruity notes on the front end. Once you drink through it, there's some chocolate notes on the back, so it's well balanced. This is my dark roast. It's a Nicaraguan from the Gold Mountain. More of a dark roast, smooth. It's more creamy than bitter. It's not like your standard dark roast that you'll get from a major coffee chain. It has a lot of creaminess to it, a lot of flavor to it, and it's more. It's for people that want that bold, dark taste without high acidity. It has notes of fig, chocolate, and praline. And this one here is just a standard decaf. It's a Colombia decaf. The best decafs in the world right now are coming from Colombia in Kenya or Ethiopia. So this one has notes of apple, brown, sugar, and pecan. It's more of a full body, medium roasted coffee to where decaf lovers like it. It's very flexible. A lot of my decaf drinkers, they put more artificial sweetener in their coffee, sweet and low, so on and so forth. And this coffee is very flexible for those additives if you require that. Right now I'm selling online, and we have one grocery store that's located in Naperville. It's a smaller grocery store. It's a very busy grocery store, and they allow me to control my product. So, for example, on Sundays, I go to the store and I hand out coffee samples to the customers. I explain to those customers my process, who I am, and I'm the owner. And they're very shocked to notice that I'm the owner, because it's very rare that you see a coffee roaster kind of on that grassroots level passing out their coffee and explaining who they are and what their family is all about and their mission for the coffee. So because of that relationship I was able to establish, we sell a lot of coffee out of that one grocery store.
So you'd be happy to have other stores carry your coffee as well as your online business, which reaches individuals and people overseas?
Correct. So I have to control my product. So I don't want to just, I've had major companies already call saying they want to buy my product, but I had very little control. So the deal didn't go, the deal wasn't working for me. I'll give you an example, Nina. If you have, just say if you have a big box store, buy your coffee. They buy $100,000 worth of your coffee, distribute it to all of the stores. It sits on the shelf. It doesn't sell. They mark it down to $2 a bag. You just devalued your own product because you wanted to go too big too fast. That's not what I'm about. I'm about quality. I don't want my coffee sitting on the shelf expired.
So you think of it as like small batch coffee?
Small batch craft coffee. That's what batch brew is.
Small batch.
That's what we want to remain. I've outgrown that coffee roaster in my garage already, and I just bought it earlier this year, right? So in 6 months, I've outgrown that. So what I'm roasting at now is I'm taking my garage roaster and I'm using it to create recipes, and I scale up my operation at North Central College in Naperville. So North Central is one of 3 colleges in the U.S. with its own roasting program.
Wow.
It's Texas A&M, University of Cal Davis, and North Central. It roasts 25 pounds at a time. So what I do now, I take my 2 pounds at a time. I take it to North Central every Monday. I scale up my operation there. I do some of my packaging there, and everything's ready to go after every Monday once I finish at the college. My job as a craft roaster is to make my bag of coffee, every cup of coffee consistently. No matter if you drink it in March or if you drink it in December, that coffee's going to taste the same. We've been getting a ton of support from people in Evanston, a lot of orders from Evanston, and you have the option to order whole bean or ground whenever you place your order. If you want like an espresso ground or even a French press ground, we're able to accommodate that as well. So typically you'll get your bag of coffee within 2 to 3 days.
That's amazing. And so that's great to hear that Evanston's been supportive.
Absolutely. I won't be able to do this business without the people at Evanston. Support my vision. Boosting Black Biz, Tasha Wilson was able to fundraise for me to help me operate on an industrial level, not on an in-kitchen level. And just the people word of mouth at Evanston who's been doing my work in the community as a police officer who just wanted to support. And that goes down to the business owners here and the coffee roasters that supported me as well.
And we're here in Reprise Coffee Roasters. Do you have a relationship with the folks here?
Adam is the owner of Reprise, Adam and Kati. They're the owner of Reprise. And while I was starting my journey and having my ideas, I kind of got cold feet about investing my own money and my own time, because I didn't take any investors. It's just me and my wife money up front. And I was having those second thoughts, like, how does this work? Is it gonna work? I'm investing a lot of money into this. And Adam gave me the courage to move forward. Not only that, randomly he'd text me and he was like, nice job, keep doing what you do. Just that encouragement. When you have those second thoughts in your head, he was encouraging me to move forward, helping me create some recipes, connecting me to the the farmer where I get my my dark roast Gold Mountain from. Just he was a big mentor and a role model while I was going through this process.
Do you have relationships with other independent coffee shops?
Yeah, Chris from Coffee Lab on Noy Street. He was the first guy I actually talked to when I asked about doing this stuff. I came into that business to get a cup of coffee. I was curious. This was a few years ago. I was curious, and he was like, "Well, I'll meet you, on your day off. Come in," and we sat there and talked for hours. And he gave me in contact with some connections. He told me where he ordered his beans from. He connected me to different websites, so where to get green coffee from, packaging. So he was a big jumpstart of me starting this business, and that's how BREW was born.
So there's like a lot of sort of generosity and community in how you were lifted up.
Which is
How long have you been a police officer for?
18 years total.
And all at EPD?
No, I'm in my 14th year in Evanston. I did my first 5 years in Broadview.
What's the experience like being an officer in Evanston?
Well, coming from Broadview was very unique. So Broadview was an all predominantly black community. It's like 90% black community, and the police force was all white. So I was the 5th black officer in Broadview history. But they love the police and fire to this day. And I got family that still live in Broadview. You better not say anything about the police. This is all black people talking about all white cops. So when I came to Evanston, I saw this racial tension. My first week, I saw all this racial tension between the community and the police. I thought it was going to be like Broadview, where everybody loved us, and it's not. It's more nuanced to community. Or like some people trust us, some people don't. Some people like us, some people don't. It's one of this weird dynamic, and I'm still trying to figure that out here. It's just a different vibe, and that's why some of the people are leaving.
What do you love about your job?
I'm the type of person. See, I think this is the best time to be a police officer, because people view this is the bottom of policing, and I say that's the best time to get in, because you can. I like going through adversity, the struggle, the perception of people, what they have of the police, the perception of what police have of the people, right? It's all about educating yourself and knowing both perspectives. I want to educate both sides. We're coming together, and the bottom line is we're a service to everyone. Community service us, we service the community, and let's make it work to support the community. That's it. Yeah, I had a great childhood, both parents in the house. Growing up, my grandfather was a Illinois State Trooper. He's one of the first black Illinois State Troopers, and he did that career for 20 years. It's weird, the parallels in life. He did that career for 20 years, retired. So he retired because he started the job at 18. So he retired at 38. He became a school teacher at Crane High School. He taught science for 20 years. 20 years flat. He retired at 58. And then he opened his own spicing business called J&J Spicery. That's what he did. And I used to help him every summer, pack up the truck. So his spices were in a few grocery stores, but we used to go to the Kansas City barbecue kickoff, the Texas barbecue kickoff, Indianapolis, just driving around the truck all summer long, selling his spices. It's kind of the same thing I'm doing with the coffee.
It's in your genes.
Yeah, it's in my genes.
And were your parents entrepreneurs or officers?
No, my parents were not. They both just worked 9 to 5s growing up. Middle class, blue collar workers for the most part. I grew up in Maywood.
In Maywood.
Yeah.
And so when did you decide to become a police officer?
The positive influences in my life were all police officers. So both of my football coaches were police officers. The basketball coach were police officers. It was just more community. I went to school to be a lawyer. I went to SIU Carbondale. They had a good law program. I was taking law courses. My junior year, my counselor said, well, you can't be a lawyer going back to Chicago, because Chicago has like 35,000 lawyers. Most of them are underemployed or unemployed, right? So he gave me the option. He's like, well, why don't we try to go for the federal government in law enforcement? And that wasn't even my idea. I started talking to a recruiter, a DEA recruiter, and I was on board to go to the DEA. The plan was to graduate, go to the DEA. Prior to my graduation, the recruiter was like, well, we would like you to have 3 years of local law enforcement before you transfer over, right? 9/11 happened. I started on the police department right after that. got my 3 years, the DEA started calling again. Like, okay, you're 3 years up, come with us. And I asked him where would I be placed. And he said Afghanistan, he said Colombia. Like, there was nowhere local I was going to start. They need the Horn of Africa. And at that time, I met my wife, we were dating, and she wasn't willing to relocate. I just stuck with the local law enforcement. And I did that for a while in Broadview, and I transferred up to Evanston in 2008.
And what does your wife do?
Right, she's in healthcare. Yeah.
And you have how many kids?
3 kids.
3 kids, and how old are they?
I got a 16-year-old boy. My girls are 14 and 12. So I got 2 high schoolers and 1 middle schooler.
So you're an incredibly busy person. I mean, how do you fit this in to your life? You work, what are your hours?
10 to 6.
10 to 6 at the Evanston Police Department every day. And what's your beat?
This beat right here. I'm a
4th Ward.
I'm a fourth and third ward problem solving officer.
4th and
Community
3rd.
policing officer.
Okay. And you work every day?
Every day.
And then when do you do your coffee? Weekends?
No.
Night times?
Every day. I get off work at 6. I have an hour commute to get home. I get home at 7. I tell the kids, warm up the roaster because it's like 30 minutes to warm it up while I'm on my way home. Have it warm already. So I roast from like 7:30 to 9:30 every day. So I commit 2 hours every day to roastery just to keep up with the demand. And then on the weekends, I'm off Sunday, Mondays. I go to the grocery store, hand out my samples of coffee, make sure the shelves are stocked, leave the grocery store, come back and roast a little bit more. And then Monday, I scale up my operation.
But what do you do for fun?
I love to travel. My wife and I will take 2 getaways every year, and then we'll take 2 to 3 getaways with the kids every year. My son's 16, he helped me with the social media. My daughters help me with packaging when I need help packaging, weighing out beans, packaging beans. They call themselves silent investors. BREW got so many layers. What we're looking to do, we want to provide our coffee to coffee shops. We want to provide our coffee to restaurant groups. We want to provide our coffee to bakeries. I want to provide our coffee to corporations. I want to be the official sponsor of the biggest thing you can ever think of. This is a true startup. I'm talking about, Nina, designing the label, creating logo, creating our story on the back, where to get the bags from, how many ounces the bag should be. There's so many details. Long nights of trying to develop this brand. And I want to teach minorities about this coffee industry, right? All coffee came from Africa. All coffee in the world comes from Ethiopia. That's the origin of coffee, right? There's very few minorities, blacks specifically. There's very few blacks in this industry. And there's so much to learn about it, from where it came from, where it's harvested from, the logistics of coffee, the quality of coffee, the roasting techniques. There's hundreds of different avenues you can take with coffee. And I want to take kids who's interested in the food and beverage community who don't know anything about coffee and educate them to see if this is something they want to explore as well.
Particularly black kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly black kids, yeah. All company come from Africa. People with African origin should be a part of it. And the more people I talk to along this chain from crop to get to cup, right? There's very few black people involved in this industry.
You live in Naperville.
Yep.
And you work in Evanston.
Yep.
So do you think of Evanston as your community?
Yes, Evanston is definitely part of my community. A lot of people I socialize with at work and away from work are people from Evanston. If it wasn't from Evanston, I probably wouldn't be in this coffee game. Yeah, it's the community of Evanston that inspired me and encouraged me and supported me to get in this coffee industry.
And I mean, you spend a lot of your life here.
Yeah, well, especially with the commute. So just say 8.5 hour shift, hour to and from, 10.5 hours of my day of me being awake and alert is here, right? I get home, I roast for a couple hours,